Good morning. I see the, I thought I saw Mark Van Kerkhoff. He didn't come in. Well, anyway, the development department's here, so we can start. The first thing is we need the approval of minutes. How would you like to do that, Mr. Brown? Unanimous consent?
I'd like to ask for unanimous consent.
And I also forgot roll call. Let's do roll call first, then we'll unanimous consent.
Allen,
Allen, present. Good morning.
Brown,
Here.
Franz,
Here.
Copey,
Present.
Leonard,
Leonard here.
Sanchez,
Here.
Shepro,
Shepro here.
Kenyon.
Here,
Still have a quorum.
we got a quorum. And
I'd like
so-
to ask for unanimous consent.
And Mr. Brown asked for unanimous consent for the approval of minutes. Seeing no objections, we get that done. Is there public comment? No public comment. We talk. We have to give Mr. Arnold time to get back to his chair. Passing out stuff. Okay,
Pardon me? I was
I
dreaming.
mean, have you report on the harvest?
On the harvest, no, Mr. Armstrong, did that. My harvest wasn't very good.
Mr. Arnold, it's your moment to be up, but we can wait a minute if you want.
I am ready. Whoa,
Right.
I am prepared. Good morning and welcome. First of all, a little bit of farm news update. As of November 14th, the Illinois Ag Statistics Service pegged corn harvest at 95% and soybean harvest at 93% statewide. I think they're a little optimistic, but that's what they're telling us. Has been a little bit of a challenging extended harvest season after a dry fall. Quite a bit of rain in October, but everything that I've heard is pretty good yield numbers. Turning to Washington, DC and Springfield, we do have new congressional maps, new state legislative maps, which means from our perspective, we will be identifying new farmer trustees for our statewide activator political action committee to evaluate candidates for election in the upcoming elections in 2022. We did recently receive voting records on issues of importance to farmers as ranked by Activator and the Illinois Farm Bureau, and we had pretty favorable ratings across pretty good bipartisan support this year in the General Assembly on issues important to agriculture. In public policy, we'll be sending 4 delegates from the Kane County Farm Bureau to join another 360 farmers from across Illinois to set public policy for our organization in December, December 4th through 7th in Chicago, and Mr. Kenyon will be one of those delegates this year. We will also travel to Atlanta in January to participate in the National Convention of the American Farm Bureau Federation. And we will display our pollinator rain garden project from 2020 that was completed in cooperation with the Water Resources Department here as one of the American Farm Bureau Federation's activities of excellence by county farm bureaus in 2020. Did not have the opportunity to do that last year. I guess that's not me. Did not have the opportunity to do that last year because of the pandemic, and we had a virtual meeting. In other news, we are working on grants and partners to expand that pollinator garden that we built in 2020. It's currently about 750 square feet, and we want to expand it to about 3,800 square feet. So we would like to do that this spring and summer. On the public side, the consumer side, Christmas trees will arrive on our lot this weekend. Today is our deadline. We do a holiday citrus program for members every year. We also do Thanksgiving turkeys from Hoka Farms, Howard Kaufman Farms in Waterman. Today is the deadline for orders for both of those. The Thanksgiving turkeys will be delivered to our office next Tuesday, and the citrus will be picked up in mid-December in St. Charles at Heinz Brothers Greenhouse. If anybody is interested in either of those, I do have order forms on the corner of the table here. But again, they have to be turned in today, whether it's for turkeys or for the citrus. And on Monday, we will put our applications will go live for college scholarships. All of you should have a page. I think there are 9 scholarship programs, $25,000 in scholarships that we minimum that we will give away next spring to college-bound high school seniors and to students already enrolled in college. We will soon have tickets available for a 2022 vintage truck raffle. We have acquired the vehicle, and that's how we raised the money for the college scholarships that we'll give away next spring. And the last thing that I have, I put a news release in front of everybody that came out this morning on the cost of Thanksgiving dinner. The Farm Bureau does a market basket survey every year around Thanksgiving, and it shows that the overall cost is up 14% this year. And I guess I'll go back real quickly to the first note about what's happening on the farm. I reported on harvest progress. What I didn't report on is the effects of inflation and rising energy cost on farm operations. Just an example, in the last month, the price of anhydrous ammonia has gone up $278 a ton to $1,135. I didn't do the math on that, but that looks to me to be about 25% in a month. And nitrogen and most fertilizers are very energy intensive. So it does have implications on profitability for next year's crop and may significantly affect corn acres. More so than soybeans in the Midwest, because corn does require more nitrogen fertilizer. So you should all hopefully by now be receiving the King County Farmer in the mail on a monthly basis, as well as the Farm Week. And if you have any questions about anything that you've seen in there, I'd be happy to take them, but otherwise I relinquish my microphone.
Are there any questions from Mr. Arnold? Oh, Tom Copey.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Steve, I was just curious, you brought up the pollinator project, and I would assume that maybe I'm wrong with this assumption, that the impetus behind the project is to create the health of bees, wasn't that to the conversation several occasions?
Yeah, bees, but all types of pollinators. This is progressing, and we're putting some information in our King County Farmer this month, also with the I may not get the name exactly right, but the Illinois Monarch protection plan or expansion plan that was introduced about a year ago by the Department of Agriculture, Transportation, EPA, and a fourth state department. So, you know, we're looking for ways to expand pollinator habitat and monarch habitat.
So if I may parlay that question into an idea that I had, and I hope I didn't cut you off, I apologize. If I understand that the health of bees is a very serious concern, and the use of pesticides is that is a net result of the use of pesticides. I was wondering if there was a possibility of the Farm Bureau to consider an idea that a certain portion of acreage can be set aside simply for, you mentioned monarch butterflies. Their home of choice is the milkweed. And of course, farmers do not like milkweed. But if to set aside, say, milkweed for the monarchs and say a couple rows of sunflower for the bees, and if these are strategically placed throughout the farming industry, we could possibly bring the health of the bees and the monarchs and these indigenous insects back to life. If we lose our bees, we lose our life. It's pretty much the bottom line to that. Without bees, we don't pollinate our crops, and there could be, you could conceivably see a starvation situation if you lose your bees. It's that simple. And I don't think that's a secret. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, Bates, please.
Well, okay, Mavis?
Yes, thanks. I'd like to address Mr. Copey's comment. One issue with the pollinators is that we need to bring back the hedgerows between the fields. There used to be, I believe it's partly due to Roundup, that those hedgerows have been stamped out. So if we could just bring back those little, 20, 30, 40-foot hedgerows between the fields, that could bring back a lot of habitat. That's one plan. And roadside habitat. Stop mowing the roads. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Question, Shepro.
All right, Mr. Shepro.
Steve, when you talk about 93% or 94%, 93% of what? I mean, what is that like an average or a peak year? I mean, what is 100%?
No, I believe when I threw the 93% number out, I was talking about corn and soybean harvest progress. So
that 93% of the planted crop has been harvested.
that's correct.
Okay. So it does not tell us anything about how much, only what percent of the putative total.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr.
And
Chairman,
Ken, 100% is all. So we'll inform you when we're there.
Bates, please.
Yes, Bates?
I'll make it quick. Thank you so much for doing the pollinator program. Done.
Did something right again, Stephen.
I should say that, as I said, we're working on grant applications. We're working on partners. The county's Water Resources Department is going to be a partner in that effort, as is the Conservation Foundation. And I believe that between the partnership between those two will cover most of the cost of plant materials. There will be quite a bit other expenses in terms of excavation and hardscapes and soil amendments. But those two are already have agreed to be major partners in this effort. Now, if we can just attract others and more grant funding.
Okay, moving on to Northern Illinois Food Bank. Is Miss Garcia here? You online?
Mr. Chairman, I was notified that Susili is working in the field today, so she wasn't able to attend the meeting. So I just found that out.
Maybe she's harvesting now. I asked if, because of our program of supporting needs in the county, there are 29 food banks in Kane County. I mean, all the way down from the top, and I have this pretty cool list.
Yes.
And they all have needs, because I think food is at the top. And after that, you have to have a place to live. That's called housing. then we need a job. That's my take on what we need in society. So there's a food link program. Is that yours?
That's our guest with Liberty Prairie Foundation, Jim with the FarmLink program. He's going to talk about the program that he manages for Liberty Prairie.
Good. You have the microphone.
Great.
Please take your mask off. so
Sure,
I can hear.
will do. Thank you. Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Jim Curchidino with the Liberty Prairie Foundation, and my colleague Nathan is here with me today. We're taking a visit of Kane County today and visiting with some others in the farming community while we're here. So like Matt mentioned, I am going to be sharing a little bit about my family and kind of our personal journey into farming and our search for farmland. And also I'll share about our Northeast Illinois FarmLink program and what that is, what we do, and some of the struggles that we see in farmland access in Northeast Illinois. So this is my family. This is my wife, Joelle, our children, Eloise, Abram, and August. And there's our family milk cow as well, our Jersey Thimble. She's great. And so really our journey into farming is largely due to the three little ones that you see on the screen there. So my wife and I, a few years into marriage, wanted to try and have children and quickly realized we could not from a medical standpoint. There were lots of kind of medical factors, that were preventing that. And we saw a lot of doctors, got a lot of opinions, didn't get a lot of answers, didn't get a lot of people willing to consider what the root cause of the issues were. And so we got a tip actually from my wife's sister that we might want to consider our diet and what we were eating. And so we did. We looked into changing our diet from sort of more processed foods to more real whole foods. And my wife is sort of an all-in type person, so I quickly had to say goodbye to my Pop-Tarts and potato chips. And within a matter of weeks, our meals had changed and our pantry had changed, and we began sourcing our foods from local farms and just eating and living a very different lifestyle than what we were doing previously. And it wasn't an immediate change, but over the course of a couple of years, there was healing that happened through that. And we really saw the power of food being medicine. And as you can see, we have three healthy, wonderful little kiddos to show the transformation that happened there.
What a testimony to diet.
There you go. Yeah, amen. And so we're grateful for that. That really launched us into kind of the local farming community, and we got connected with a lot of local farms, local food sources, and have really been living kind of in that community ever since. And so we just this past year purchased a 5-acre farm / homestead in McHenry County in Woodstock, Illinois. So there's some pictures on the farm. We have chickens, we have a milk cow, there's some mushroom logs there. We just got a pig. And really our story is, we want to tell the story of field to kitchen. And so I included some pictures of the kitchen there, some cheese, some homemade sourdough deep dish pizza. And we really focus on nourishing our family in everything that we do. And so one quick highlight from the farm this past year, we're just getting things going, but I like to develop small scale productive farm food systems on the farm. And so all last winter, I racked my brain on this one, but we did a garden area where we planted 3 sisters of corn, beans, and squash. And we did that in some rows. In between the rows, we also planted, I think, 24 fruit trees and planted in between those some potatoes. And we spaced these rows just enough so that I built this mobile chicken tractor coop, and we raised some broiler meat birds in between those rows. And so in total, I think we raised about 50 chickens that are now in the freezer, about 200 squash that we harvested, I think around 1,500 pounds of potatoes, and a lot of corn and beans, all on less than a half acre. And that was just really awesome to see the outcome of that. And we are stocked full for the winter now. And so to tell you a little bit more about our journey, so we were living in Wheaton for a while, so in DuPage County. This is a picture. Oh, shoot. I forgot to move along. There's the pictures of the Three Sisters garden. You can see the rows and the mobile chicken tractor there. There's my daughter and I harvesting potatoes. And this is our house in Wheaton. As you can see, we stood out a little bit. We're trying to maximize our third of an acre that we had there, and just quickly realized that our lifestyle more identified with a rural agricultural lifestyle. And so we transitioned out of my career as a construction manager in 2019, moved up to Wisconsin, worked on a 160-acre diversified family farm in west central Wisconsin for a year. And that really was key to giving us a lot of confidence and experience in a rural community, on a farm, that we could do this on our own. And so we decided to start our own search for a farm. We wanted to be within an hour of both of our families, we grew up in the suburbs, so both of our families are still in the suburbs of Chicago. And so we began our search. We knew we actually had our milk cow already, so we needed to find a property that could host a milk cow. And so that was sort of our criteria. And we started our search very broad and narrowed down on McHenry County, and we were able to find some affordable options there. We had actually put offers on 3 different properties before we found the one that we did end up purchasing, which was a foreclosure, which was what we were looking for. We were hoping to put sweat equity in and buy something that wasn't turnkey and that we could kind of make our own and build build into. And so see what was next. So just some really quick points on our story, some takeaways. We found out that you learn as you go. We're suburban kids. We didn't know a lot about farmland. There was a lot that we learned in that year living in a more rural setting. Our search was kind of like a funnel. We started really broad, found out our preferences as we went, and were able to kind of dial those in. And we were able to be confident once we found the right opportunity moving forward with that. It starts well before your physical search begins. This is mainly in reference to the financial aspect of it. We spent the better part of a decade living a very frugal lifestyle and doing a lot of saving, knowing that someday we anticipated there would be a big transition in our lives and likely a pay cut involved in that too, if we were going to move from kind of a more of a office career using our degrees to an agricultural career. And so we saved, and that gave us a lot of flexibility in the whole process. And then farming and rural living experience is key. I already mentioned that a little bit, that we that year of farming and gaining experience was just huge for us and giving us the confidence to have our own farm. You need to be ready to act quickly. I think everyone's aware of the real estate market right now. We were searching from 4.5 hours away, and if we weren't willing to hop in the car that day as soon as a property came available, drive the 4.5 hours, see it, and put an offer in that day, we were probably not going to get it. And so that was the reality that we were living in, and I think a lot of people are living in right now. Use connections and resources. We found that to be very powerful along the way. The first property we put an offer on, I saw that there was a farm right across the street from it that had a phone number listed online. And so I called up that farmer just to ask some more questions about the property, find out some more about the history of it. And she gave us a lot of information that I would have been able to find on the internet. And that really helped our ultimate decision to not further pursue that property. And then sometimes it all works out just right. And that was true for us. And we were very grateful for the property we found. It was just the right fit for our family. And we're loving the area that we ended up in. And I think, yeah, I think I can transition on. So, now moving on. So transitioning to talking more about Liberty Prairie and our FarmLink program and the work that we do. Recently, there was a Northern Illinois Young Farmer Coalition meeting, the inaugural meeting of farmers that they gathered. And as a result, the farmers there gave input on the biggest barriers that they have. And the higher the score, the bigger the barrier was. As you can see, the top, and there's a pretty big gap between the rest of the list, is access to land. That is the biggest issue that farmers, young farmers, beginning farmers are facing in Northern Illinois. As you can see, since childcare ranked 0 down there, I was not in attendance at the meeting, but those were the results. And so Liberty Prairie Foundation is located in Grays Lake, Illinois. It sits within the Prairie Crossing Conservation Subdivision. And so it's a residential subdivision that's built on conservation principles. Within that is a 94-acre organic farm that Liberty Prairie Foundation owns and operates. There's several programs that run on that farm. One of the main ones I'll highlight is the Farm Business Development Center, which is basically a farm incubator, and it allows beginning farm businesses to lease some land, rent some facilities like greenhouse space. Also, there's some shared resources with tools and equipment that the farmers have access to, and to really launch their farm business and vision in an affordable way. What this program has also surfaced is that once farmers move on from the program, land access is the biggest challenge for many farmers, finding suitable farmland to move their operation onto. And so that's really what started our Northeast Illinois FarmLink program and just our work in land access overall. There's 2 farmers there that I show there, both have profile. Those are farmers with the FBDC program, and they also have profiles on our FarmLink site and are looking for their long-term farmland opportunities. Just really quickly, why farmland access initiatives are needed in Northeast Illinois. Land is essential to farming. There's certainly new farming techniques, but plants and animals are designed to be raised and grown on land. And so that is essential. Land is expensive. I recently got an email from Compeer Financial that giving kind of a barometer of where farmland prices are at right now. And they listed 4 different counties throughout Illinois and the prices that land recently sold at. None of these are in Northeast Illinois, but just in Illinois. LaSalle County was $13,600 an acre. McDonough County was $17,100 an acre. Lee County, $16,000 an acre. And DeWitt was $15,500 an acre. Yeah, so that just goes to show the price that farmland is at right now, and that it's not really an affordable rate right now. Land is complex, so it's not something you do every day to just go and purchase a farm or farmland, and so it's difficult enough just purchasing a home for the first time and everything that goes into that. When you throw in the factors of farming into that, it adds a lot of complexities, a lot of unknowns, a lot of just new things. And we're finding a lot of the farmers that are in our network and looking for farmland are coming out of more urban and suburban settings. And so just that jump from that to a more rural setting offers a lot of complexities. And the last thing is land is disappearing. I think there's no doubt about that, whether it's development, whether it's alternative land uses, land is moving on at an alarming rate, and less of it is in farming, especially in Northeast Illinois. So to introduce our Northeast Illinois FarmLink program, this is the homepage of our website. Can anyone guess where that picture is taken? Background? Recognize it? That is Kane County farmland right there. Yeah, so this is the homepage. I'll move on to the next slide, which talks a little bit more about our services. That's also an image of the homepage as you scroll down there on the right side. But we offer the chance to create a free farm or farmer profile. So farmers can come on that are searching for farmland and lay out kind of the criteria, what they're looking for, the areas that they're looking in for farmland, and farmland owners can also create profiles if they have farmland available for lease or for sale, and show pictures and maps of the land, and explain the type of farmer or farming they're looking for on their land. We also offer free one-on-one advising. So we try and follow up all the farmers and farmland owners that come into our network. Our goal is to follow up with them and to learn more about their situation, their specifics, their background, and just figure out ways that we can provide advice, that we can provide support, different connections, different resources that we have within our network that can be helpful for them in their search. We do a number of educational events. I think I have a slide here. Yeah, so these are 3 events we held this past year. We did online webinars about your farm finances and whether you're wise to buy farmland now, Buying Rural Farmland 101, where we actually interviewed a real estate agent who specializes in farmland, a ag lender, and then an ag appraiser, and then Farmland Conservation Easements 101. And the prior year we had done a webinar or workshop on leasing farmland for farmers interested in both. And so we offer various educational events throughout the year. We want the website to function as somewhat of a land access hub in the region. And so we produce news articles and updates that, so we run a monthly email newsletter that shares different news and updates and opportunities in Northeast Illinois and beyond. We also have a database of resources, and then share any events pertaining to land access in the region. And then something for 2022 we're going to be working toward is building a network of professional service providers and having that available on our website. So that would be anything from the legal end of things, real estate attorneys, finance, taxes, accounting, loans, planning or design work on your farm, real estate agents, and I'm sure we'll find more to add to that list, but trying to, again, offer helpful resources for farmers and landowners within our network. So I'll go over what are some of the hurdles for farmland access. We have seen that there's more farmers than land opportunities, and this is sort of across the board for anyone we talk to in land access across the country. there's always more farmers than land available. And to show that, here's been a progression of our website since we started. Of the yellow line or orange line is the farmers. They've created profiles on our FarmLink site, and then green is farmland profiles. And so you can see the contrast there, and that land opportunities have really not crept up that much, and they've stayed pretty level, and we continue to get more and more farmers within our network. And I think part of that is that landowners, we haven't found a great way to really connect with them and reach out, and they're sort of a bit of an elusive group. They don't really fit into one category, and so it's just difficult to find ways to really network with them. And then some of the other hurdles, training in finance for beginning farmers is definitely one. And that's both on kind of farmers coming in and maybe they've never purchased a home or purchased land before, and really need to understand the financing options. Also on a personal finance level, seen that to be true. Things like keeping a household budget and ways to live frugally and alongside your farming. I took the State Line Farm Beginnings course in 2017, and that was one of the things that they really taught and focused on there, was just teaching personal finances, and that was just seeing the response from the class. That alone was probably some of the most valuable information that the farmers received during that time, was to learn how to manage their finances and budget. Farmland with housing opportunities are rare. This is true, and that's really the bulk of farmers we talk to are looking for not only land but a housing opportunity on land. And so one of the things I realized in our own search, we had actually, our house was a foreclosure that we bought and needed a lot of work and fixing up before we could move into it. And I had looked into getting some sort of RV or tiny house on our property to live on the property because we had animals and we were farming. And I quickly found out, at least in McHenry County, that was not allowable, that there was no way of making that happen. And so I see this as an area of really being able to come alongside small scale farmers that are looking for land opportunities, to allow them to create or to be creative in housing options and opportunities on land. The next one is smaller scale farmland opportunities zoned for ag are rare. So similar along those lines really the bulk of farmers in our network at least are looking for properties more in the 5 to 10 acre range, 20 or less acres. And there's plenty of large tracts of farmland out there, but very few smaller properties, especially smaller properties that are affordable. And so that's a hurdle. And then long-term leasing opportunities are preferred. And so as farmers care more and more about soil health and want to establish things like perennial crops, being able to commit to a long-term lease is essential. Farmers are looking for a minimum of 3 years usually, and but there's also the hurdle on the landowner end of committing to that upfront is a challenge. You don't exactly know what you're getting yourself into, and so there's hurdles to overcome there. So really quickly, I just want to show you two quick examples of farmland connections that have been made in the past year with our FarmLink program. This is actually the Reuter Family Bison Farm meeting with the McHenry County Conservation District on one of their properties. And they were actually just recently able to negotiate a successful lease opportunity for the coming year. And so in the next few months, they're currently located in central Illinois, but they're going to be moving some of their buffalo herd to land in McHenry County on conservation land, with the chance to expand eventually to 180 acres of that land. So that was one connection made. And then on a much smaller scale, Jordan Blakesley recently filled out a farmer profile, and there was a farm opportunity that was also listed on the website, just a few miles from where he was at. It's 1/3 of an acre, and it offered all the amenities and everything he needed. And he contacted them and worked out a successful lease for the next growing season, starting to grow vegetables and other produce there. So I think that is most of what I have. Great. And if there's any questions or follow-up on any of that, I'm happy to answer anything. And thank you all again for this opportunity.
Mr. Chairman, questions, comments, Jeffro?
I'm glad you have one, Ken.
Okay, yes, I know, I'm sure you are. First off, I think it really is a great presentation and raises a whole lot of issues that probably need addressing, but the one that occurs to me that our county board could do something about is this issue of the availability of smaller parcels. And perhaps staff or members with more experience could supplement or correct it. But my impression is that the 40 acres was a change because there was a concern that in order to preserve farmland, you needed to require large parcels because too many people were coming out and wanting to, live in the country, and they weren't really farming, but they'd build a house on a couple of acres. And the result is that land was being taken out of production. So in a sort of ironic twist, I suppose, the 40 acres was designed to actually preserve farming areas. And I know we have a subcategory within the agricultural zoning, but I think many of us that have followed that know that it's something that can be manipulated. It reminds me a little bit of the village of Wayne, where we encourage people in estate areas to have stables so they can have horses. But maybe the first person has a stable with horses, and then they sell it to somebody, and the barn turns out to be a vehicle storage facility, or they're running a business. But it does occur to me that there may be ways to perhaps establish another zoning category that would allow genuine farm uses to be established on less than 40 acres. I think I'm right that if you don't have a house, you can farm on basically just about any size parcel. But if you want to have a house to go with your farm, now you're back to the 40 acres. And this is maybe for another day, but I'm wondering if people like Mike or Tom or Jim, when you hear numbers like the average price of a agricultural property in this county or that county is X. Some of us might have trouble, including me, putting that in context. I mean, you look at it, I suppose, I'm sorry I'm going on, I'm almost done, is that on one hand, you say, well, at that price, I could sell out to a developer and make money. But then the other side of it is, what yield do I need from my acre to help me sustain or be able to carry that 17,000? Because I doubt a lot of farmers are paying cash for their land when they buy it. And the last is just a quick comment that the story about our speaker and his beautiful family occurs to me that if you go in the other direction, if you think your family is complete, all you got to do is eat junk food. And you could probably tie that into a program that would say, support zero population growth and have a bag of potato chips. But more seriously, I think that this committee, or maybe in conjunction with development, could look at those issues relating to the 40 acres and possibly come up with something that would be more small farmer friendly. Thank you. Sorry to run on.
Yeah, keep out of the gummy jar. I think you got wandered off.
Bates, please.
But you have an interesting story and I think it's great. And the diet thing is, I think, the coolest about it, what you've done. But not everybody's going to work as hard as you.
Bates, please.
The Mavis Bates, you might work as hard as him.
I have an actual question, please. So where do they, what do they do with their food? Do they have CSAs or farm stands or restaurants or stores?
So we don't have any of those. We're selling just direct to some customers and friends and people within the local community right now. We don't see our main business as being producing on the farm. We're more so going to pursue some different, more educational routes, producing content and tutorials and courses as more of our long-term business plan. But we do produce quite a bit on the farm, more than we need for our family, and so we are able to supplement, with some farm sales and also just bartering within the local farm community.
Is that your business model? Is selling your produce or milk?
Somewhat, yeah, that's definitely part of it. So for instance, we barter with a neighbor right now for hay for our cows for the winter. We give them 2 gallons of milk a week in exchange for hay, and it's a wonderful trade-off. Keeps the cycle going, and but that it's not. We don't see what we produce on the farm being our main source of income as a family. We're trying to diversify into some other streams of income as well.
Okay, thank you. I think we really have to work on this idea of not being able to put a tiny house on a piece of property. That could be very, nice looking, and it's not detrimental in any way. I think that could be a zoning goal. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there no more questions? We'll move along. Oh, one more, Jared.
Thanks. I had a question. The farming techniques you're using, they don't seem traditional, chicken tractors and 3 sisters and stuff like that. So where did you learn that, and what kind of farming is that?
It's a great question. So I guess to put a category on the type of farming, everything we do, we consider regenerative agriculture. So we want to make sure we're not just pulling from the soil and from what we're doing, but we want to make sure that it's replenishing itself along the way, and so that there's our motto on the farm is nothing goes to waste. We don't waste anything, and so the manure from animals is continually being recycled back into the fields and into our garden areas. And as far as learning it, that's a great question. We just picked up a lot of different things along the way. As you can see, even when we were in the suburbs in Wheaton, we were just trying a lot of different things in terms of gardening, and we had planted fruit trees and raised bees and chickens in our backyard. And a lot of it's been trial and error, watching some different videos or different people we've followed in kind of the blogging, homesteading community along the way. And the 3 sisters thing was sort of, we lucked into it. I think I watched a webinar session or something earlier in the year on that, and it was just blown away by the system and how much sense it seemed to make, and thought we need to give this a try. And so it was sort of had no idea what we were actually doing with it, but got seed in the ground and got it all going, and we're blown away with the results. So.
Excellent. Thank you for coming today.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Let's see who's next on the list. Illinois Farmer Veteran of the Year.
Yes,
Matt?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I just want to thank Jim for coming today and sharing his story. I really think that his experience represents so many beginning farmers in Kane County and throughout the region. So I really appreciate him being here today and talking about his experience. I got to grab the remote from Jim. So we had Veterans Day last week, and I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about the Farmer Veteran Coalition of Illinois' recognition of Tony Furchi. Tony was recognized as the first homegrown hero farmer veteran of the year. This is a new program that started up, and it recognizes farmers, particularly veteran farmers that are doing innovative work. And we're really excited because Tony and his wife Sharon farm Garlic Breath Farm here in Elburn, Illinois. And so they've really been a fixture with their specialization in garlic and selling at local farmers markets and through their online marketplace as well. So we just wanted to take a moment and acknowledge Tony for this award and this recognition, and just appreciate the work that he and his wife continue to do. And he was a veteran of the Navy, so we appreciate his service. Okay, and so also I've been talking a bit about in recent meetings the Regenerative Grazing Field Day that we organized on October 30th. And so I'm happy to give a summary of the day's events and the turnout that we had. There were about 23 attendees that attended that day. So we had originally planned through the program and the grant for about 15, but as more people signed up and there was interest, we were able to use some of our Growing for Cane funding to cover some of the additional food expenses for more attendees. So we had a really great turnout at the event, and Cliff McConville with Allgrass Farms gave a great presentation in the afternoon. Most of the attendees, as you would guess, were farmers, although there was a significant number that were identified as future or prospective farmers. So we were happy to reach people that are not currently farming, but are really interested in getting into the field and might have a specific interest in regenerative grazing. And most of the farmers, as you'll see, were from, or the attendees, I should say, were from Kane County, although we did draw a few from other parts of Illinois and even a couple from Wisconsin. So one of the networks that this event was promoted through is CRAFT, the Upper Midwest CRAFT, which is the Collaborative Regional Alliance for Farmer Training. And so they are basically a farmer-led group that promotes training opportunities for farmers around the state line region. So we were able to get some additional publicity for this event through that organization as well. But also, obviously the Farm Bureau and our own network helped to get the word out, and so we reached a pretty good swath of attendees. And so Cliff McConville, he's the manager with Allgrass Farms. And so he really did a great job leading this this field day and this discussion. So we started out at the picnic pavilion on the Brunner Family Forest Preserve, which is where Allgrass Farms leases property from the forest preserve. And so we started here, and Cliff just talked about how he got started in farming, and he started, I'd say much the same way that Jim did. He just started raising some chickens on his property in Barrington at his home, and he was able to start working from home, and he used that additional time to invest in raising livestock and kind of starting this small business operation. And so he was ultimately able to expand that to the Brunner Family Forest Preserve and really develop this sort of multi-tiered livestock operation. And so the focus of this event was primarily on beef cattle. This is just the tractor and trailer that everybody used to get out into the field to begin a lot of the tour. But most of his operation focuses on raising beef cattle. And so right now he's got, I believe, 35 to 40 head, which is right around what they typically manage, because they're really focused on a specialty product. So they focus on value and quality over volume. And so they're able to work with a smaller processor in southern Wisconsin, and they can sell this product through their store on site and through their online marketplace. And this is just another shot of Cliff giving a talk and an overview to the attendees. And so we're kind of moving around different parts of the field where he grazes, and it's about an 80 or so acre section on the Brunner Forest Preserve property. And so it's a really large open grazing space. So he's got these different tools and implements that he uses. And this is a shelter that he and his team constructed. And so it's primarily used by the cattle in the winter. So obviously when it's cold and it's snowy and so forth, they have a place where they can go and huddle and stay warm. But obviously it also provides a place for shade in the summer when it's hot, so they can use it for different purposes. And you can't really see it in this photo so well, but it's basically built on these wooden rails, kind of like a sled or a sleigh. So they actually just hook it up to a tractor and they just drag the thing up and down the field when they're moving the paddocks for the livestock. And that's just another view of it. I thought this was an interesting system that he has. So this is it's, as you can see, it's basically it looks like a feeding tray, but it's actually different mineral supplements that the livestock will go to, and they will just consume some of it. And the livestock actually have the sense where they can basically tell what sort of nutrients or minerals they're lacking in their diet. So they basically can just go and take whatever mineral nutrients from this box. So you've got different types of minerals set up, and they just walk up to it and they kind of flip the cover back with their nose and just kind of take what they need. So just kind of an interesting, solution to kind of help, maintain their dietary needs. And obviously, water is necessary for livestock. So he just uses this watering bin, and I believe it's got like a heating element. So in the winter, it can keep it from freezing. And so it's, obviously it's a mobile unit, so they can move this around with the paddocks. And it's connected to a hosing system that
Hello,
goes
this is
back to
Mandy
the
Spade
site.
speaking.
Oh, yes, do you have a question?
On the phone.
Hi,
Oh,
Sarah.
oops.
Good, good.
And he's also raises chickens on site. So he's got, I believe, 5 chicken coops, and these operate much the same way that shelter does. So it's on these sleighs, and so it's anchored to the ground, but when they're moving it, they can detach it and then just drag it with the tractor. So it, obviously the chickens are doing their thing and they're fertilizing different areas. And so basically the chicken coops are following the beef cattle. So the beef cattle paddocks are moving like in an east to west pattern, and then they change places with the chicken coops as they're moving in different areas. And just another view of the chicken coop. And yeah, those all 5 of his chicken coops. And so those, obviously in the winter, they'll cover those up to kind of keep the elements out. So the sides and have drop down covers that roll up with a crank. And fencing is an interesting topic. So obviously on the left, you have what I would call like the mobile fence. So it's a fence that can be, moved and repositioned to change where the livestock is grazing. And so it can be shifted, and, obviously it's continually moving. So the livestock can, graze fresh grass, and then the grass that's not being grazed can regrow and regenerate. And it is an electrified fence. So it is connected to a battery system on the right. And so Cliff was explaining how he sets that up, and, like what the voltage is and how it affects the animals. So so he really covered all aspects of his operation. And, you could tell the attendees had some of the attendees had some pretty detailed experience, because they asked very pointed and specific questions about Cliff's operation. And just as part of the tour, we did have them fill out a quick evaluation just to kind of get a sense of what other topics the farmers might be interested in, or the attendees might be interested in. And from that, we did see that business plan development and sales and marketing were 2 topics that were of interest to them. So that might kind of influence the types of programs and resources that we look to support in the future. But obviously, the need for e-commerce and technology and support for good agricultural practices we're pretty close behind too. So we'll continue to keep looking at these and other issues as well. So that's pretty much all I have. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
I have a point of interest, Mr. Chairman, if you could entertain me.
You have a suggestion or a question?
Just a point of information in regards to the chickens. They're probably the most efficient producers on the farm in regards to feed intake versus the poultry output. And they tend to be excellent foragers also. And the reason that the farmer will migrate his chicken coop with the in unison with the cattle's loafing shed is that the grain that the cattle consumes is not 100% digested. And I'll leave the rest to you on that one. So just remember that next time you buy eggs. But thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Comments?
I have a question, Bates, please.
Oh, good, Mavis.
Hi, it's me again. What can we do this is a question that nobody will have an answer to, but I'll ask it anyway. What can we as a county do to help residential chicken raising in Kane County? Maybe have a program to support municipalities who want to do that, and education for backyard chickens. Thanks. That's my question or comment.
It sounds like a future job for you, Mavis.
Oh,
Janice?
okay. Okay.
Dennis?
Yes, I don't have an answer for Mavis's question, but Mark asked me to make a comment. He's sorry he had to leave for his next meeting, but he wanted to thank Matt for his work on the grant for this, that supported this work and his work on executing the grant. And also I'll add, what's so important is doing our survey work at the end so that we can build future programming for this, which Matt and I are working on right now.
Thank you, Matt, for your work on the grants. It allows you to do a lot more. More money. Any other questions? Jared? All right. Were you going to talk too? You're just an observer. You're learning like we are. All right, is there any new business? Seeing none. Unanimous consent to put the reports on file?
I'll ask for consent.
What?
I'll ask for the consent.
That would be Jared.
Second.
And Mr. Arnold brought this prize today. It suggests it's a pillow what, Stephen? Pillow
Pet.
pad. Anyway,
Mr. Kenyon, I also have 2022 calendars here if anybody would like that.
Shepro, you'll have to come in and get your own calendar because they don't get delivered. So for the prize, what is the name of this young man's farm that he just established up in McHenry?
All scratch. Farms from scratch.
From scratch, very good. I thought it was a great name. Mavis, where can we put this for Mavis?
In my mailbox?
Okay, so just
We can put it right here.
At her place, you'll have to come in and maybe
Okay.
Chaperone and I could use it just to sleep on. Put our heads- Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Raz moves.
Franz moves.
100 seconds.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.